Hey guys, we're back and it is Octo Day. I love Octo Day, one of my favorites. We are gonna talk about 7 new plush yarns that I found. One that I will never make an Octo with again, and a couple that are surprisingly similar to others I've tried in the past that I didn't see coming. We're gonna jump right in. First, I just wanna say, I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. Whatever it is you celebrate, I hope you have enjoyed this month and that you have been able to spend it with family and friends and just surrounded by happiness and good times. Okay, I'm Karen. This is Yarnandwhimsy. I know. I need someone to like put a sign up on my tripod. Introduce yourself. Octos, here we go. So if you have not been keeping up with my series, this is episode 3 in the Trying Every Plush Yarn I Own series. And I have collected some new yarns for you guys. Some of them you have seen in a haul and some of them you haven't. I'm gonna show you what I got. We're gonna start with the first one I made. And I was so excited to make this one. You saw this in my haul. This is the Premier Little Bunny yarn. And okay, it made a super adorable little Octo. The Little Bunny yarn is, you can find it on the Premier site. It is $3.99 for a package. I got these for $2, which is why I bought a bunch of them. But normally $3.99. The reviews for this are really good. I didn't have a lot of issues with it, with things you would expect. It is a number 5 bulky weight yarn, 87 yards, 80 meters. It recommends an 8mm hook, which is never gonna be okay. I used a 5mm hook with this. It's so soft and fuzzy, guys. It is so soft and so fuzzy. But the major downfall with this one is predictably stitch definition. You can't see your stitches with this. And it's pretty tiny. So I found it a little challenging to feel my stitches, which sometimes works really well for me if I can't see my stitches. I was able to get through it. It worked up pretty easy. The hook went through it pretty easy. I did make a mistake and I had to frog it. I did that on purpose for all of these because I wanted to see how they frog. It frogged really great. No, it did not damage the yarn at all when I frogged it. Magic ring worked really well. I didn't have any trouble figuring out my magic ring with this yarn. It worked up well. I was able to close it on the first try. No really noticeable shedding either. When I was sewing or when I was frogging or when I was just crocheting. This and at least one other yarn today. Sometimes when I use these fuzzier yarns, like this velvet that I've used, you can't really see your stitches that well, like your front loops and your back loops, but you can still see the definition of each row. So as you're going through and counting rows, it's pretty easy. This yarn, you cannot see how many rows there are in this. And that made it more challenging, and I had to pay a lot closer attention when I was doing, like, there's a segment of this pattern that you're repeating the same row for multiple times. And a lot of times I'll just mark the first row and then I'll just count up to make sure I got all my rows. I actually had to count them because I wasn't gonna reliably be able to see the rows to count them. Pay attention to that if you're gonna use a yarn like this. Otherwise, I thought this was good. I liked it. It would make me a little crazy to do it on a super big project because it is like crocheting with a blindfold on, which I don't think I'd be very good at. But I do like it, and it turned out really cute. I do have lots and lots of skeins of this in different colors, so I will try. This colorway is called Lullaby, FYI, if you wanted to know. I will be trying more. I really will. All right. So number 1. Number 2, I tried the Estako Velvet yarn. All right, this one, I got this white yarn off Amazon. Do you guys remember back when all the Premier white yarn was either unavailable or complete trash and it was just crumbling in your hands when you crocheted? So I went on a hunt for other options. I found this. This is, the brand is Estaco. This is the Estako Velvet. It does not feel like velvet. This feels just like Parfait chunky. It's very much that plush chenille kind of feeling that like a Parfait chunky has. And it is, the downside to this yarn is that it is $9.99 on Amazon for a skein, which is expensive. Parfait chunky you can get for $4.99. This does have free Prime shipping, so that was something. And you can get a slightly better price if you buy multiples. So you could get 3 skeins, I believe, for $24.99. The other plus to this yarn is it does come in a lot of colors. It came in 26 different shades, which is pretty good. Not as good as Parfait Chunky, but still pretty good if you're looking for different colors of yarn. They're just expensive for what they are. I'm gonna say it's probably classified as super bulky. It didn't say that. It might be a 5. It didn't say anything on the label about that. It is 120 meters, 132 yards, 100 gram ball. It recommended a 4.5 hook, which is so strange because most of these yarns recommend hooks that are way bigger than you would need. 4.5 probably would have worked. I used a 5.0 because I wanted to make a direct comparison to Parfait Chunky. It's super soft, easy to work with. Let me look. Here is my Parfait Chunky Octo so you guys can see. They're very similar. The Parfait is a tiny bit taller and maybe a tiny bit bigger, but not much. I have used this now in a few different projects paired with Parfait Chunky and not had any issues at all. And I used 5.0 millimeter on both of these. I think it's workable. You might even be able to size up to a 5.5 with this to make it a little closer. Spoiler alert, we're gonna start testing that to see how we can match these yarns up, but we'll talk about that later. This one, really good. No problems frogging. I did frog it, I didn't have any problems. No issues when I was sewing it with shedding. No issues when I was crocheting or frogging with it. I really just didn't have any problems with this yarn at all. And as a replacement for Parfait Chunky White when it was terrible, this was a lifesaver. I really enjoyed it. I would use it again if I needed white and I couldn't get it from Parfait Chunky. I think the price alone is a pretty decent deterrent for me. If I could get it at better pricing, I would probably use this a lot. I do like this, and maybe I like it a little bit more than Parfait Chunky, or at least the Parfait Chunkies that I have in stock, because they still kind of shed a lot for me, and this didn't. Let's do this one. This one is, I did this one on purpose. I've done Parfait Chunky before, but this is the Parfait Chunky Glitz, and I kind of wanted to see how it worked up in comparison. And I had gotten some reports from you guys that the magic circle was really hard for you with this yarn, like nearly impossible for some of you. This is a number 6 bulky. This is $5.99, I believe. 109 yards, 100 meters. It recommends an 8 millimeter. I used a 5 millimeter just like I do for all of my Parfait Chunky. It is a little scratchy. It is a little scratchy. It doesn't feel like that in the skein. It feels pretty soft, but it is a little scratchy with this metallic in it. And it did feel a little scratchy, not on my hook, but on my hands when I was working with it. It just had a little bit of drag, more than you would find in regular Parfait Chunky. That being said though, I did not have any trouble frogging it. I did not have any trouble. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't super to frog, and it wasn't super smooth on a magic ring, but I was able to get my magic ring closed on the first try. I might need to do a quick tutorial on how I do magic rings, which I don't think is that different. I do like to make sure that my tension on that initial magic ring is pretty loose, pretty open, so that I can get a good pull and a good tighten on that. It did not really shed too much. I would say like it was mild shedding. It did shed. It shed more than the Estaco. It shed more than the Baby Bunny, but it was not nearly as bad as some of the Parfait Chunky colors I have been working with. This one's not bad. Not bad. I like it. Is it worth the drag and the couple of downsides for the glitter? I think it is. You guys, I think it is. Because it has got such a nice little sparkle to it. It really doesn't come up as good on camera as I think it does in real life. But I think this is gonna be really fun. I think people are gonna be attracted to it. I can think of a ton of projects it would be really great to use in. I would love to make a unicorn and use different colors for the mane, to have that sparkly mane. I think that would be beautiful. I can think of a lot of things. All right, that takes us to Yarn Bee. This is the Yarn Bee Velvety Smooth. This is $4.99 full price. It's 80 yards. It recommends a 9mm hook. That is aggressive. It is aggressive, I think. It is, look, in comparison, you can see that it works up very similar in size. It's a little chunkier than the Premier Glitz. It's a little bigger, tiny bit, maybe even not. I mean, they are pretty comparable all the way around. And it called for a 9mm. I used a 5. I used a 5 because it felt like Parfait chunky to me. It looks like Parfait chunky, and it doesn't hardly shed at all. I mean, this is a really solid piece of yarn for me. I did look at the reviews on Hobby Lobby, and they're not great. They're kind of hit and miss, but a lot of people said it sheds and falls apart. So maybe it's like a Parfait chunky kind of deal where some skeins aren't as great as others. But for me, the skein of this, what's it called? What color is it? Blush. This skein, beautiful. It was so easy to work with. Frogged, great. Magic ring, great. Shedding, none when I was working with it. Really, really good. I'm super excited to find alternatives to Parfait Chunky when it goes out of stock that I think will still work well with it. And this one, the price is right. $4.99 is full price. We all know every other week yarns at Hobby Lobby go on sale. Always a downside, right? Nothing's perfect. There are only 12 colors of this. There are only 12 colors of this specific yarn. That's super limiting if you're going to do a project, but if we can mix it effectively with Parfait Chunky, this one you can see is a little smaller, or Sweet Snuggles, like we could probably come really close to making those work together with just some tweaks. This is a really good yarn, and for these colors, I would use it. I would totally use it again. Snugs and Kisses from Yarn Bee is next on my list, and I don't know what I was expecting from this yarn, but this was not it. This yarn is $7.49. A little pricier, but it does have a good yardage, and it does go on sale every other week. They only have 6 colors in this, which is such a bummer when you're doing amigurumi, because we always need lots of colors. But I do like this color. I can think of some froggies that I think would be really cute in this kind of muted green. It's called Baby Jade. And here's the thing, if you guys can't tell from looking at it, this to me feels like a carbon copy of Bernat blanket. It is so similar to Bernat blanket. This one, it might just be how I stuffed it, but it's a little squishier, it's a little rounder and squishier, but these are so similar. This is Bernat baby blanket, a little smaller, but this is, it is good. It recommended a 9mm. I used a 7. I probably could have gone down to a 6.5, and I tend to use a 6.5 with Bernat blanket, but since it called for a 9, I only went down to a 7. I probably should do a 6.5 because you can kind of see, I don't even know if it's showing up on camera, but there are some spaces where the holes there are just a little big. So I think a 6.5 would take care of that and would maybe make it just exactly right to pair with Bernat blanket. I'm gonna practice with this and Bernat together and see how they go. I was really surprised. I'm like, are these the same yarn? These are practically like working with the same yarn. These two feel the same. This isn't as soft to some of the Bernat blankets, but honestly, neither is this one. They work pretty good together, guys. These yarns are the same, and I didn't realize I would find an equivalent to Bernat in this search. It frogs fine. No issues with the magic ring. No shedding. No shedding for me at all. Where is it? I brought it over here. No shedding at all with this. Very much like you would see with Bernat. I mean, I'm really trying to get it to shed, and I got one tiny little piece, and that was like really trying. But again, on the website, there are mixed reviews that say, I gotta wonder if they were using if they reviewed the wrong yarn on the website, Hobby Lobby website, because this doesn't even feel like a yarn that's gonna shed. It feels very much like a Bernat. It's just never gonna shed, very much at least. This is so much softer and more flexible than the Cozy Occasion yarn, which is one of my least favorites. I just don't like this Cozy Occasion yarn from Yarn Bee, Hobby Lobby at all. I don't like it at all. They're similar, but this is softer, more flexible, way easier to work with. Take note of that. I would use this one again. I would use it again for sure. I would especially use it if they had colors that I liked. All the colors are kind of like this muted right now, but I'll play around and see what I can find. We have 2 left, and gosh, guys, I want to end on a higher note, so we're gonna talk about this one right now. This yarn is a hot mess. This is the Premier Bunny. This was the baby bunny, and this is the bunny. I don't know. I don't know that anyone would ever know that this is an Octo. Upside, it is the perfect yarn if you want to make Cookie Monster. I get to see that for sure. This is a Cookie Monster yarn if I have ever seen one. And this yarn has great reviews on the Premier website. It comes in 18 colors, 87 yards or 80 meters, recommends a 15 millimeter hook. I used a 9.5 millimeter. It's a jumbo 7 yarn. It's so soft, so fluffy. This is what it looks like not worked up. So it's got this pretty decent sized, it's almost like a fringe, right? Almost like a fringe. It's got this decent sized cord or rope kind of feel in the middle. And then these fluffies are legit like almost an inch long. They are soft, but this is not for beginners for so many reasons. First, this was the only one that I really did have a lot of trouble with a magic ring. I think it's because these little fluffs get like caught on it. I was able to get my magic ring closed by just kind of adjusting the angle that I was pulling at and trying to pull in different angles, and it eventually worked through and pulled tight. I did not have to redo it, but it was definitely tricky. And also, because this cord in the middle is pretty much what you're crocheting with, even though I'm using a 9.5 millimeter hook, it makes a strange crochet pattern. The space where I can put my hook in is really tight because it is pulling together just this cord. Does that make sense? It's like you're crocheting with a much smaller yarn, but you do need the bigger hook to accommodate all the fluff. So it makes it kind of hard to figure out where to put. You can feel it. The rope's thick enough that you can feel your stitches, but inserting my hook in was really hard because some of the crochets I pulled too tight and there just was not like hardly room for me to get my hook in and pull some more yarn through. It was super challenging. I almost gave up on this one. I almost was like, okay, this is just not meant to be. But yeah, for you guys, I persevered. The other thing, and you are not even a little bit gonna be able to see this, but there are areas because of how that cording works that like here, you can feel it's tight. And then here, I can just totally put my whole finger through that crochet, through that single crochet there. Everywhere else is tight. Oh, here's one where it's just a little looser and I can just, because it's just really fluff that's holding this together. I wish I could explain it better. Maybe I'll try and see if I can get some close-ups in another video and show you guys more about this. It does come in a lot of colors. The colors are great. I can see that this would be fun for different projects. Like I said, I was being a little facetious, but also not. This would make a great Cookie Monster. If you were doing puppets or Muppet style characters, Sesame Street style characters, a Grouch, Oscar the Grouch, you could make such a fun project with this yarn. You just, number one, you have to be able to be confident enough to feel your stitches. Number two, you have to be okay with imperfection. Forget front loop and back loop. When there was the back loop, front loop, back loop portion of this, there was no way that was gonna work for me. So I just went ahead and crocheted. And then when I was doing these, you can't even see that these are the bobble stitch. This is a bobble stitch right here. I'll pull some others down. There's a bobble stitch there. When I was doing the bobble stitches, I just had to find somewhere to go in. I didn't have that front loop to go into, and I just had to be okay with that. It just had to be okay that it wasn't gonna be perfect. So if you were gonna use this, I would recommend going in with that attitude that I'm just gonna make it work and it's not gonna be perfection. And you should have a little experience under your belt so you can make decisions like that on the fly when using it. It was tough. It was tough. All right, last yarn, and this one I love. Is no surprise because this is a Bernat blanket yarn, but this is the Bernat blanket extra. This is called Purple Sunset. It's $11.99, 97 yards, 87 meters, 28 different colors, which is great. Jumbo 7 yarn, recommended a 15 millimeter. Honestly, I don't have a crochet hook that big. I used a 9.5 because it was the biggest I had on hand. I actually have a 10. I just didn't have it nearby. So I could have used a 10. Probably that would have worked too, but I thought the 9.5 worked pretty well. Comparing this to, this is Sweet Snuggles, or Chenille Home actually. It's definitely bigger. It's definitely bigger all around and in height. And it was fun to work with. Okay, so this is regular Bernat versus Bernat Extra. Wow, right? This is a big mama. This is a big mama. And it is not, I wouldn't call it super easy to work with. I think it requires a little bit of a learning curve because it is so clunky. Not just chunky, I did say clunky. It feels clunky. The stitches are a little hard to see. And because it's so much bigger, like even trying to find, I kept trying to go into like a front loop and just coming out with nothing because I was just going in as far as the fuzz because I'm not used to it being that big. And I didn't want to catch too much, but wasn't catching anything. And that was just a quick learning curve. It did not take long to pick that up. It frogs easy, it magic rings easy. It's soft, it's fuzzy, and it's so big. Like, not as big as my head, but I have a giant head. So it wouldn't take much for it to be. And I did love working with this. I would use this yarn again. I'm not sure right now for what I would use it for, but I would use this again. It's a little expensive for 97 yards because the regular Bernat has 220, but look at the presentation of this bad boy. I love it. That is everything I have for you today. Little bunny, this was a win. I like it. I don't know that I'll use it a ton because it is a little tricky. It's a little persnickety. I don't know. It's not the easiest to work with because of the fuzziness, but I really like it. Estaco, total win. I would buy this again, especially if I can't find the color I need from Parfait Chunky. Velvety Smooth Yarn Bee, absolutely. Like this one a lot. I don't think it's maybe quite as soft as Parfait. But it's not quite as soft as Parfait, but it's really good. Definitely a win. Snugs and Kisses. One of you guys recommended this to me. Thank you, thank you. I really like this one. And I love that I can use it with Bernat. Parfait Glitz. Yeah, not my favorite in the Parfait line, for sure. But I think the challenges it presents are made up for by all the sparkle. I really like the sparkle, and so I'm willing to work with that one again. No, just no. No. This one though, yes. This one, yes. I do like this. I got this variegated colorway and I would try it in some solid colors if I can find some I like. Win-win, winner. That is everything, you guys, that I have for you today. I do want to just touch on one more time that kind of my next part of this project, I do have a couple more yarns coming in that I will try for you guys. I'm really excited for Himalayan Dolphin Baby. I've used it a few times myself now. I really like it. I like it a lot. Anyway, the next project that I want to work on as part of this is I would like a way to make this information and the sizing and how these match up together available to you guys a little more easily. so you don't have to come back and refer to the video necessarily, so I can have some kind of, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. Maybe a blog. I don't know how to do a blog, but maybe a blog, maybe a Google Doc. I don't love that idea. Something so that you guys can access this information. And what we're gonna work on next though is which yarns pair together. So this is Sweet Snuggles, this is Parfait. They're different, they're just a little bit different in size, but I think we can manage that, perhaps by doing a different hook size for both. So I'm gonna practice with 2 similar yarns that are just a little bit off in size and see if I can make them work together in the same very simple pattern by just altering the hook size, like maybe half a size down in this one and half a size up in this one. And I'm gonna do some comparisons and see which yarns we can make work together, so that if we wanted to do a project that had multiple kinds of yarn, we'd know how it was gonna turn out. This might be a fail. We might fail a lot, but I'm still gonna try and see what happens. Are you guys in for that? Do you guys wanna see that here on the channel? I would be happy to share my results with you guys. Meanwhile, I hope you had a great holiday, and I hope that you are looking forward to an amazing new year. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I can't wait to do it again soon. I will talk to you then. Bye, guys.